Welcome back. Going to start putting signatures together for the little Jell-O micro journal, and I'm going to start by taking the cover base that we made last time and measure exactly to figure out the perfect size for my signature pages. For future reference, if you decide to make your own little Jell-O journal, the perfect signature size is 3 inches wide and 4 inches across, and you have just under a 1-inch spine when all is said and done. One thing that I have noticed a lot of junk journal creators do, including myself, is keep a little box to the side, whether it's a shoebox, a Tupperware bin, whatever it is, where as we're making, we toss those spare pages or paper scraps that are not small enough to be considered a scrap, something that we might use as a future signature page at some point. Anyway, we toss these all in the box, and then before we know it, the box is full. So one of the great things about these micro journals, and when I say micro, I use the size from the travel journal, and those micro journals are about the size of a Jell-O box. They're not quite 3x4. It's more like I don't know, maybe 2 3/4 by 3 3/4 or something like that. I don't remember the exact measurements off the top of my head, but when I say micro journals, that's the size that I'm referring to. I think a lot of people also use micro journals to mean the little itty bitty, like thumb-sized journals, which are super cute, but that is not the size that I refer to when I say micro journals. So anyway, now that babble stream of words is over, what I was saying was that these little micro journals are perfect for using up those pages that are just lying around in a box somewhere waiting to be used. Another great thing about this is, particularly with this Jell-O box, 4x6, that is, think way back to your scrapbooking days. That was a common size that we were used to working with, and I don't know about those of you that are old scrapbookers like I am, but I still have the habit of wanting to cut everything into 4x6 pieces. So it seems like the cutting and trimming goes really quickly for me when I'm working with this size of a journal. Anyhow, back to telling you what's going on in this video. So what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of looking through and seeing what I have to work with the little bits of scrap paper that I have. My camera had stopped somewhere along the way when I was recording, and so I ended up picking up kind of halfway through here. And you'll notice that some of these pages have already been kind of Frankensteined together, where I've taken smaller scraps of random things here and there and put them together to create single signature pages. And then the next step after that is that I will sort of deal them out like cards into however many stacks I decide I want, however many signatures I want, and then I will arrange them by size so I can kind of see what I have in height. Then I will go ahead and sew them together and put them in the journal. Now at this point I decided that I wanted to add a few more pages, so I'm going back to that original stack of papers that you could peek at the very beginning of this video. The magic stack of leftover papers, and I'm just grabbing whatever I think looks great and slicing most of them into 4x6 pages. So this is going to be a fairly uniform page size. I'll have a few pages every now and then that are a little bit smaller to just add some interest as you're flipping through. But a lot of these are going to stick to that 3 inches wide by 4 inches high, so that because it's such a small journal to begin with, so you would kind of want to have every inch of space possible that you can when you're creating a small journal like this. As I'm going along through my paper scraps and grabbing the pieces that I'm going to use, if I find a small piece, like this particular piece here is pretty old. It's a piece of rag paper from an old Italian book, and I wanted to include it, but it's not quite the right size. So I just grab another little small scrap from my stack and glue them together in whatever way looks good at the time to create a page, whether it be a page that I can just fold in half so it becomes a 3-inch page by a 4-inch page, or maybe it will be a flip out pocket where part of it will open and there'll be a pocket inside, or maybe the page will open a couple times so it actually ends up being quite wide when it's stretched open. I never really know how it's going to come together when I'm doing these until I see what I have. But that's kind of the fun of junk journaling. There is no plan. It's just playing with different pieces of paper and seeing what goes together well, and kind of discovering where you're led by the end of your creation. While you're going through and you are putting together your pieces and creating your pages, one of the good things to remember, I think, is that part of what makes junk journals so special is that feeling of nostalgia, or just that kind of pause in time where we can just stop for a second and take a breath and just flip the pages and enjoy the old papers and the feel of the papers and the smell of the papers and the illustrations or the writing or whatever it is that is on the papers that we've used to create. And so I think one of the ways to encourage that when you are creating your journals is to try and make sure that you have some element here and there throughout your journal that makes you or whoever ends up owning the journal have to interact with the pages in some way. So whether you are creating pages that flip up or fold out, or you have pockets where there are other things hidden inside, like journal cards where you can write more, or tuck in pictures for someone to pull out and discover, or maybe have places where the new owner can tuck in their own pictures or treasures or secrets or whatever it is. I think that element of tactile interaction is one of the things that makes junk journaling so special and so unique, because you truly, and I'm going to sound very cheesy here, but I absolutely believe this is true, and I think this is why I love making these journals so much. You truly have to sort of let yourself fall into this world or this moment in time that you have created with the journal. And I think it makes it that much more personal when it actually becomes a tool where someone is going to actually write in the journal or use it as an art journal or a scrapbook or whatever they decide that it's going to be, because they are interacting with it so much more and slowing down to just kind of enjoy flipping through the pages, I think that makes whatever ends up on the page that much more authentic, because it's slower and it's more, I don't even know the word that I'm trying to say, but it's just like it's more than a pause. It's a slow, intentional breath through time. I don't know how else to put it, and I am sorry for sounding a little bit goofy, but it's pretty easy to get lost in the world of junk journals. And regarding putting together the signature pages, that's really all there is to it in this video. Next, I will sew them in, and then it will be the fun part. Then it will be embellishing. And I just realized that my dog has been snoring this whole time, so I'm going to try and clean up the sound for a little bit for this video. But if you hear a snore every now and then, it is not my endless talking about this journal putting my husband to sleep. It is just my dogs sleeping the day away. Enjoy your day, and I will see you soon.